Number 1. The journey to mastering emotions. From natural reactions to calm composure. Life is full of unexpected situations. A careless remark, a thoughtless gesture, or an unplanned inconvenience that can easily upset us. But here's the truth. No one can control your emotions unless you let them. The journey to emotional mastery begins with recognizing that every reaction is a choice. Between an event and your response lies a space, a moment where you decide how to act. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, between stimulus and response, there's a space. In that space lies our power to choose our response. When someone interrupts you in a meeting, instead of reacting impulsively, pause, identify your emotion, anger, hurt, frustration, and ask yourself, will this reaction serve me? Expecting others to act like you only leads to disappointment. People operate based on their own experiences and values, and their failure to meet your standards isn't their fault. Accepting differences is key to protecting your peace. If a coworker constantly talks over you, instead of seething, recognize their habit has nothing to do with you. Letting go of expectations frees you from resentment. The need to win arguments often stems from insecurity. Ask yourself, would I rather be right or at peace? When criticized, respond with curiosity, not defensiveness. For example, say, I hear your perspective, instead of arguing. Your worth isn't defined by others' opinions. A harsh critique reflects their viewpoint, not your value. Boundaries are self-respect in action. When a friend asks too much of you, kindly say, I can't help today, but let's talk tomorrow. Clear boundaries protect your energy and teach others to respect your limits. Live by your own values, not others' judgments. If someone dislikes your style, smile and own your choices. Silence is a powerful tool to de-escalate conflict. As Marcus Aurelius said, the best answer to anger is silence. When provoked, pause instead of retaliating. Gratitude dissolves anger. Stuck in traffic? Reframe frustration by thinking, I'm grateful I have a car and music to enjoy. This mental shift builds resilience and redirects focus to the positive. Criticism is a growth opportunity. When a colleague points out flaws in your work, ask, what can I learn here? Filter feedback for value, discard the rest, and let it fuel improvement. Letting go of resentment is liberation. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison. It only harms you. Forgiveness isn't about excusing behavior. It's about freeing yourself. As the Buddha taught, holding on to anger is like gripping hot coal. Emotional mastery isn't suppression. It's choosing calm over chaos. By setting boundaries, embracing differences, and focusing on what you can control, you cultivate unshakable peace. As Lao Tzu said, knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. This journey transforms you from reactive to resilient, where no external event dictates your inner state. Practice these principles daily and watch how calm becomes your default. Not because life gets easier, but because you've mastered the art of response. Number 2, stop expecting others to be like you. The secret to less frustration and more freedom. You're driving home after a long day, minding your speed, when a car zooms past you, cutting you off. Your jaw tightens. What's wrong with that driver? Don't they know how to follow basic road rules? You spend the next 10 minutes fuming, your mood ruined. But here's the kicker. That driver wasn't wrong. They were just different. Maybe they're rushing to a family emergency. Maybe they grew up in a place where aggressive driving is the norm. Or maybe they're just having a terrible day. The truth is, their choices have nothing to do with you. And expecting them to align with your standards is a recipe for endless frustration. Why we expect others to mirror us, we all have a mental blueprint for how the world should work. It's shaped by our upbringing, values, and experiences. When someone deviates from that blueprint, whether it's a coworker who interrupts during meetings, a partner who forgets to text back, or a stranger who dismisses your opinion, it feels like a personal affront. But here's the reality. Everyone operates from their own blueprint. Your coworker might come from a culture where speaking over others is normal. Your partner might struggle with anxiety. That stranger? They could be projecting their own insecurities. Expecting others to act like you is like demanding a rose bush to grow oranges. It's not just unrealistic, it's unfair. The cost of unrealistic expectations, when we cling to the idea that others should behave a certain way, we set ourselves up for disappointment. Imagine this. You invite a friend to your meticulously planned dinner party, but they show up 30 minutes late. If your expectation is punctuality is non-negotiable, you'll feel disrespected. But if you consider their history, maybe they grew up in a laid-back family where time is fluid, their tardiness becomes understandable, not offensive. The more we demand conformity, the more we trap ourselves in cycles of anger and resentment. As the Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. How to let go and live lighter. Acknowledge your biases. Start by asking, why does this bother me? Often, our frustration stems from unspoken rules we've imposed on others. A friend's bluntness might trigger you, but if you grew up in a family that valued tact, their honesty clashes with your norms. Not because it's bad, but because it's different. Practice curiosity over judgment. Instead of labeling someone's actions as rude or thoughtless, get curious. Ask open-ended questions. What might their story be? Or why does this situation make sense to them? This shifts your mindset from confrontation to understanding. Set boundaries, not ultimatums. Accepting differences doesn't mean tolerating harmful behavior. If a colleague's constant interruptions affect your work, address it calmly. I've noticed we both want to contribute ideas. Can we take turns speaking? This protects your peace without demanding they change who they are. Celebrate the gray areas. Life isn't black and white. The coworker who's always late? They might be your most creative brainstorming partner. The sibling who never calls? They show love by helping you move every year. Embrace the paradoxes. The freedom in letting go when you stop expecting others to fit your mold. Something magical happens. You reclaim your peace. That driver who cut you off? Their actions say nothing about your worth. Your loud neighbor's music? It's a reminder of the diversity that makes life rich. As author Don Miguel Ruiz writes in The Four Agreements, don't make assumptions. Find the courage to ask questions and to express what you really want. Life becomes lighter, relationships deepen, and you'll find yourself less drained by the weight of unmet expectations. Because here's the truth. The only person you can control is you. And that's more than enough. So next time someone acts in a way that baffles you, pause. Smile. And remember, they're different isn't a flaw. It's just different. And that's okay. Number 3, the liberation of letting go. Choosing peace over being right. In a world where opinions are amplified by social media and polarized debates dominate dinner tables, the compulsion to win arguments has become a cultural epidemic. We've all been there. That heated moment when pride swells in your chest and the need to prove your point feels as vital as breathing. But what if the cost of being right is far greater than the fleeting satisfaction it brings? What if the true victory lies not in conquering others' perspectives, but in freeing ourselves from the exhausting cycle of conflict? The problem with insisting on being right is that it often says more about our insecurities than our wisdom. When we cling to the need to correct others, we're not just defending ideas, we're defending our egos. This mindset transforms conversations into battlegrounds, where relationships become collateral damage. Think of the last time you argued with a loved one over something trivial, a political stance, a parenting choice, or even the best way to load a dishwasher. Did winning the argument deepen your connection, or did it leave a lingering bitterness? More often than not, the pursuit of correctness breeds resentment, not resolution. The irony is that many disagreements are rooted in subjective truths. Two people can witness the same event and walk away with entirely different interpretations. Insisting your version is the only valid one dismisses the complexity of human experience. It's like arguing whether the ocean is blue or green. Both are true, depending on the light. When we prioritize being right over understanding, we shut down curiosity and empathy, the very tools that foster meaningful connection. Choosing peace isn't about surrendering your values or stifling your voice. It's about recognizing that not every hill is worth dying on. Ask yourself, does this issue truly matter in the grand scheme of our relationship? Will my need to win nurture trust or erode it? Sometimes the most courageous act is to say, I see your point, even if you disagree. This doesn't make you weak, it makes you wise. Wisdom lies in knowing when to stand firm and when to let go. Practicing this shift requires humility and self-awareness. Start by pausing before reacting. Ask, am I defending truth or my ego? Listen to learn, not to rebut. You might discover that beneath the surface of disagreement lies common ground, a shared desire for safety, respect, or love. When you choose peace, you create space for collaboration instead of combat. Ultimately, life isn't a scoreboard tallying who's right or wrong. It's a mosaic of relationships, growth, and moments that matter. By releasing the need to always be correct, you reclaim your energy, your joy, and your capacity to connect deeply with others. So next time you feel that familiar spark of defensiveness, take a breath. Let go. Choose peace, not because you're conceding, but because you're wise enough to know that some victories aren't worth the war. In the end, the only person you truly need to prove something to is yourself. And perhaps the greatest proof of maturity is the courage to walk away from a fight, knowing you've chosen harmony over hubris. Number 4, defining your worth from within. In a hyper-connected world where opinions flow freely and social validation is just a click away, it's easy to let external voices shape how we see ourselves. A compliment can send us soaring, while criticism cuts deep, leaving us questioning our worth. But here's the truth, your value doesn't hinge on what others think of you. The only opinion that truly matters is the one you hold about yourself. Learning to anchor your sense of worth in your internal compass, not the shifting winds of praise or blame, is one of the most liberating steps you can take. Think about it. No matter how kind, talented, or hardworking you are, there will always be someone who disapproves, misunderstands, or diminishes you. Similarly, there will also be people who adore and admire you. Both extremes exist independently of your actions. They're reflections of their perspectives, not your essence. When you tie your self-worth to external validation, you hand over control of your happiness to forces outside yourself. This leaves you vulnerable, constantly seeking approval or fearing rejection, rather than standing firm in who you are. The key to breaking free from this cycle lies in cultivating intrinsic value. Intrinsic value means recognizing that your worth isn't contingent upon achievements, appearances, or other people's opinions. It stems from simply being human, flaws, strengths, and all. To build this mindset, start by identifying what makes you uniquely you. What are your core values? What brings you joy, fulfillment, or purpose? These qualities aren't diminished by criticism or inflated by praise. They're constants that define your inner richness. Of course, tuning out external noise isn't easy. Humans are wired for connection, so feedback naturally affects us. However, learning to filter that feedback is crucial. Constructive criticism can help you grow, but harsh judgments rooted in negativity say more about the critic than they do about you. Likewise, compliments should be appreciated without becoming dependencies. Instead of asking, "Do they like me?" shift your focus inward. Am I staying true to my values? Am I proud of who I am today? One powerful exercise is practicing self-compassion. When faced with negativity, remind yourself that everyone struggles with insecurities, even those dishing out hurtful words. And when basking in praise, celebrate briefly, then return to the steady foundation of your own self-respect. Remember, confidence built on external validation is fragile. Confidence rooted in intrinsic worth is unshakable. Ultimately, life is too short to live at the mercy of others' perceptions. You are the author of your story, not an actor in someone else's script. By focusing on your internal narrative, the beliefs, passions, and principles that guide you, you create a life defined by authenticity, not approval. So the next time you feel tempted to measure your worth through another's eyes, pause and remind yourself, your value is inherent, undeniable, and entirely yours to claim. Number 5, the power of boundaries, saying no to protect your energy. In a world that values productivity and people-pleasing, setting boundaries can feel uncomfortable or even selfish. But here's the reality. Saying no isn't about rejecting others. It's about honoring yourself. Healthy boundaries are essential for protecting your energy, maintaining balance, and fostering mutual respect in relationships. When you fail to establish clear limits, you risk becoming overwhelmed, resentful, or depleted. On the other hand, when you communicate your needs with clarity and conviction, you create space to thrive while teaching others how to treat you. Boundaries aren't walls meant to shut people out. They're bridges that define what works for you and what doesn't. They allow you to show up fully in your life without sacrificing your well-being. For instance, if you constantly say yes to every request, whether it's staying late at work, attending social events out of obligation, or lending emotional support beyond your capacity, you're essentially giving away pieces of yourself until there's little left. Over time, this leads to burnout, frustration, and a growing sense of invisibility. By contrast, learning to say no empowers you to prioritize what truly matters and conserve your energy for the things that align with your values and goals. The first step towards setting boundaries is recognizing your limits. Ask yourself, what drains me? Where do I feel taken advantage of? How much am I willing to give before it feels like too much? These questions help you identify areas where boundaries are needed most. Once you know your thresholds, practice articulating them clearly and respectfully. For example, instead of apologizing profusely for declining a request, try saying, "I appreciate you thinking of me, but I need to focus on my priorities right now." This approach communicates assertiveness without hostility, reinforcing both your self-respect and the relationship. Of course, setting boundaries isn't always easy. Many fear rejection, guilt, or conflict when they start saying no. But consider this. Every time you honor your needs, you send a powerful message, not just to others but also to yourself, that your time, energy, and emotions are valuable. And contrary to popular belief, most people will respect your boundaries once they understand them. Those who don't may reveal themselves as individuals unwilling to value your well-being, a red flag worth paying attention to. Remember, boundaries aren't static. They evolve as your circumstances and priorities change. Regularly check in with yourself to ensure your limits still serve you. Surround yourself with people who model healthy boundaries and encourage yours. Over time, you'll find that saying no becomes less daunting and more empowering, a tool for creating a life rooted in authenticity and mutual respect. Ultimately, setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's self-care. It's a declaration that your energy is precious and deserves protection. By defining what you will and won't tolerate, you reclaim control over your life and inspire others to do the same. As the saying goes, you teach people how to treat you. So why not start teaching them to treat you with the respect and care you deserve? Number 6, living authentically, detaching from the weight of others' opinions. In a world saturated with voices, on social media, in workplaces, and even within our closest circles, it's easy to feel pulled in countless directions by the opinions of others. Criticism can sting, praise can inflate, and unsolicited advice can leave us second-guessing every decision we make. But here's the liberating truth. Not every opinion matters. Learning to detach from external judgments and live according to your own values is one of the most profound acts of self-empowerment you can undertake. The problem with letting others' opinions dictate your choices is that it shifts your focus away from what truly aligns with your inner compass. When you base your actions on approval or fear of rejection, you risk living a life that feels like someone else's blueprint, not your own. Imagine going through life constantly asking, "What will they think?" instead of "What do I believe?" This mindset doesn't just drain your energy, it erodes your sense of identity over time. You become a chameleon, changing colors to fit expectations rather than standing firmly in who you are. So how do you break free from this cycle? Start by developing a habit of reflection. Whenever you encounter feedback, whether positive or negative, pause and ask yourself, does this opinion truly matter to me? Does it resonate with my core values? Or is it rooted in someone else's agenda? For example, if a friend criticizes your career path, but their perspective stems from envy or misunderstanding, does it really deserve space in your mind? On the flip side, constructive criticism from a trusted mentor might hold weight because it aligns with your growth goals. The key is discernment, separating noise from signal. Living authentically requires courage. It means accepting that not everyone will agree with or support your choices, and that's okay. Your worth isn't determined by universal approval. What matters is staying true to your principles and aspirations. Surround yourself with people who uplift and respect your journey, while gently distancing yourself from those who seek to impose their views without regard for your well-being. Another powerful practice is cultivating indifference toward unimportant opinions. Not every critique deserves your emotional energy. If someone's comment doesn't serve your growth or happiness, let it roll off like water on a duck's back. Remind yourself that their words reflect their perspective, not your reality. Over time, this mindset shift creates a protective barrier between you and unnecessary negativity. Ultimately, life is too short to live for applause or tiptoe around disapproval. By taming the influence of others' opinions, you reclaim ownership of your story. Ask yourself daily, am I making decisions based on my values? Or am I chasing validation? When you anchor your choices in authenticity, you create a life rich with purpose, a life defined not by what others think, but by what feels right to you. And that, above all else, is where true fulfillment lies. Number 7, the power of silence. Choosing calm over conflict. In a world that often feels loud and reactive, silence can be one of the most powerful tools at your disposal. It's not just the absence of words. It's a deliberate choice to step back, breathe deeply, and protect your peace in moments of tension or provocation. While responding impulsively might feel satisfying in the heat of the moment, it often escalates conflict and leaves you drained. On the other hand, choosing silence allows you to rise above the noise, maintain control over your emotions, and navigate challenging situations with grace. Silence is especially potent when faced with provocation or criticism. When someone says something hurtful or inflammatory, our instinctive reaction may be to defend ourselves immediately. But more often than not, these knee-jerk responses only fuel the fire, turning minor disagreements into full-blown arguments. By staying silent, you disrupt this cycle. You refuse to engage on their terms, giving yourself time to process the situation before reacting. This pause creates space for clarity and intentionality, a chance to respond thoughtfully rather than react emotionally. Moreover, silence communicates strength. Contrary to what some might think, choosing not to respond doesn't make you passive or weak. It shows that you're secure enough in yourself to avoid unnecessary drama. Think about it. How many times have you seen someone try to bait another person into an argument, only for the latter to remain calm and composed? That quiet confidence disarms aggression and shifts the dynamic. Instead of feeding into negativity, you demonstrate self-control, a quality that commands respect even from those who oppose you. Of course, practicing silence isn't always easy. In the face of criticism or insult, the urge to retaliate can feel overwhelming. But ask yourself, what will I gain by responding right now? Will my words improve the situation, or will they escalate it? More often than not, silence speaks louder than any retort could. It gives you the upper hand by preventing escalation and preserving your inner calm, a resource far more valuable than winning an argument. Another benefit of silence is its ability to deepen self-awareness. When you resist the impulse to speak immediately, you create room to reflect. Is this issue worth addressing later, or should I let it go entirely? Does this person's opinion truly matter to me? These questions help you prioritize your energy and focus on what really matters. Over time, silence becomes less of a defensive tactic and more of a mindful practice, a way to center yourself amid chaos. Ultimately, silence is more than just a shield against conflict. It's a source of empowerment. By choosing to stay silent in moments of provocation, you protect your mental and emotional well-being while modeling maturity and restraint. Remember, you don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. Sometimes, the strongest response is no response at all. And in that quiet space lies the freedom to live authentically without being swayed by external turbulence. Number 8. Transforming anger through gratitude. The power of positive focus. Anger is a natural human emotion, but when left unchecked, it can consume us, cloud our judgment, and strain relationships. What if there was a way to transform that anger into something more constructive? Enter gratitude, a simple yet profound practice that shifts your focus from what's wrong to what's right. By intentionally cultivating appreciation for the positive aspects of life, you can diffuse negativity and foster a sense of calm, even in the face of frustration. The key to this transformation lies in redirecting your energy. When anger arises, it often magnifies the negatives, making them seem insurmountable. But here's the truth. No matter how difficult a situation may feel, there are always elements worth appreciating, if you take the time to notice them. For instance, instead of fixating on a coworker's unkind comment, you might choose to acknowledge the supportive colleagues who uplift you daily. Shifting your perspective doesn't erase the problem, but it softens its impact, allowing you to respond with clarity rather than reactivity. One powerful tool for practicing gratitude is keeping a daily gratitude journal. At the end of each day, write down 3 things you're grateful for, big or small. They could be as simple as savoring a warm cup of coffee, enjoying a heartfelt conversation with a friend, or noticing the beauty of a sunset. Over time, this habit rewires your brain to seek out positivity, even during tough moments. Studies show that consistent gratitude practices not only improve mental health but also enhance resilience, helping you bounce back faster from stress and adversity. Gratitude isn't about ignoring pain or pretending everything is perfect. It's about acknowledging that challenges coexist with blessings and choosing to focus on the latter. For example, imagine you're stuck in traffic after a long, exhausting day. Instead of fuming over the delay, you might use the moment to reflect on the fact that you have a car, a safe place to go home to, or music to enjoy while you wait. These small acknowledgments don't eliminate the inconvenience, but they help you approach it with greater patience and acceptance. Another benefit of gratitude is its ripple effect. When you practice being thankful, you naturally become kinder and more empathetic toward others. This shift in attitude can ease conflicts, strengthen bonds, and create a more harmonious environment around you. Plus, expressing gratitude openly, whether through words or actions, inspires those around you to adopt a similar mindset, creating a culture of positivity. Ultimately, transforming anger through gratitude requires consistency and intentionality. It won't happen overnight, but with practice, it becomes second nature. So the next time frustration threatens to overwhelm you, pause and ask yourself, what can I appreciate right now? Even in the darkest moments, there's light to be found, and focusing on it can change everything. Number 9, turning criticism into growth. The art of filtering feedback. Criticism is one of the most polarizing experiences in life. For some, it feels like a personal attack, a blow to their confidence and self-worth. For others, it's an opportunity to learn, grow, and refine their path forward. The difference lies not in the criticism itself, but in how we choose to respond to it. By learning to filter feedback effectively, you can transform even the harshest critiques into stepping stones for personal development while letting go of unhelpful negativity. The first step in embracing criticism as a tool for growth is recognizing that not all feedback is created equal. Constructive criticism, thoughtful, specific, and aimed at helping you improve, is invaluable. It provides insight into blind spots you may not have noticed and offers actionable steps for progress. On the other hand, destructive criticism, vague, harsh, or rooted in malice, serves no purpose beyond undermining your confidence. The key is to develop the ability to distinguish between the two. Ask yourself, is this feedback coming from a place of care and expertise, or is it merely an attempt to tear me down? If it's the former, lean into it. If it's the latter, let it go. Once you've identified constructive feedback, approach it with curiosity rather than defensiveness. Instead of viewing criticism as a threat to your identity, see it as data, an objective observation about a particular behavior or outcome. For example, if a colleague points out that your presentations lack structure, resist the urge to take it personally. Instead, ask follow-up questions. Can you give me specific examples? What suggestions do you have for improvement? This mindset shift allows you to extract value from the critique without internalizing it as a reflection of your worth. At the same time, don't underestimate the importance of filtering out toxic criticism. Some people will always find fault, no matter what you do. Their words often stem from their own insecurities or biases, not from a genuine desire to help. When faced with such comments, practice emotional detachment. Remind yourself that their opinions say more about them than they do about you. Letting go of these unconstructive remarks frees up mental space to focus on meaningful growth. Practicing gratitude for constructive feedback, even when it stings, can also reframe your perspective. Thanking someone for pointing out areas for improvement not only demonstrates maturity, but also encourages open communication in the future. Over time, this attitude fosters trust and collaboration, turning potential adversaries into allies. Ultimately, criticism is inevitable, but so is growth. By adopting a discerning approach to feedback, you empower yourself to evolve continuously while shielding your spirit from unnecessary harm. Remember, every critique holds a choice. Will you let it define you, or will you use it to redefine your best self? The answer lies in how you listen, filter, and act. Number 10. Letting go of resentment. Freeing yourself from the weight of anger. Holding on to resentment is like carrying a heavy stone in your heart. It doesn't hurt anyone else as much as it weighs you down. When we cling to anger over past hurts, we trap ourselves in a cycle of bitterness that steals our peace and stifles our potential. The truth is, holding on to resentment only harms one person, you. By choosing to release the burden of anger and forgive, whether or not the other party deserves it, you reclaim your power to live fully in the present and embrace the future. Resentment often stems from unresolved pain. Maybe someone betrayed your trust, dismissed your feelings, or acted unfairly. In the moment, anger can feel justified, a natural response to injustice. But when anger lingers long after the event has passed, it becomes toxic. It keeps you tethered to the past, replaying old wounds and preventing emotional healing. Every time you revisit those painful memories, you reinforce their grip on your mind and body. Over time, this chronic negativity takes a toll on your mental health, relationships, and even physical well-being. Letting go of resentment doesn't mean excusing harmful behavior or pretending the hurt never happened. Instead, it means acknowledging the pain, accepting that it's part of your story, and deciding not to let it control your life anymore. Forgiveness is less about the other person and more about freeing yourself. Think of it this way. Would you rather spend your days consumed by bitterness, or would you prefer to invest that energy into creating a happier, more fulfilling future? The choice is yours. One powerful step toward releasing resentment is reframing how you view the situation. Instead of focusing solely on the harm done to you, consider what lessons the experience might hold. Did it teach you resilience? Help you recognize unhealthy patterns? Strengthen your ability to empathize with others? Shifting your perspective allows you to extract value from adversity, transforming pain into growth. Another helpful practice is mindfulness, staying grounded in the present moment. When thoughts of resentment creep in, gently redirect your focus to what's happening right now. What are you grateful for today? Who brings joy into your life? Focusing on the positives helps dilute the power of lingering negativity. Finally, remember that letting go isn't a one-time act. It's an ongoing process. Some days will be easier than others, and that's okay. Be patient with yourself as you work through the layers of hurt. Each small step toward forgiveness lightens the load, creating space for peace and possibility. Ultimately, life is too precious to waste on anger. The past cannot be changed, but your relationship with it can. By releasing resentment, you open your hands and your heart to the beauty of the present and the promise of tomorrow. After all, why carry the weight of yesterday when you could soar freely into the future?